So I just binged for most of the last week on the Fallout show, and I want to talk about it because I'm a big Fallout fan. So, what is Fallout? Fallout is a video game series about post-apocalyptic. It's kind of an alternative history that split in the 1950s, where instead we became an economy run on energy through fossil fuels. They very much went down the path of nuclear energy. Whole realm of video games going back to the original 1997 Fallout game, which I played 20 plus years ago. To pull out my proof card, stack of video games, yeah, all the Fallout games. Have dropped hundreds of hours into each of them, with maybe the exception of Fallout 76. If you know Fallout 76, you know why. Heard it's actually got a lot fixed, so maybe it's time to go back to it. So that's kind of what Fallout is. Amazon Prime picked up the rights to air a show on their network. 8 episodes, each about an hour long, and it's absolutely fantastic. You know, so often do movie rights, TV rights mess up video game properties. When do you ever see them actually turn out well? I've heard Halo's a mess. They did Prince of Persia. Mario was actually pretty good. But yeah, you don't usually see people get video game properties turn into TV at all well. This one nailed it. And a couple of lessons to really take away from it. I think one is the importance of nailing the branding. What is branding? Branding is consistency. Consistency makes things seem familiar. It bridges the gap so that someone like me, who's got 20 years of familiarity with the property and has spent hundreds of hours engaged in this content, makes it feel familiar, makes me feel like I'm a part of the world, doesn't change it up too much. But it's also easy enough for someone new that's never watched the show to really be able to jump in and pick up. And speaking of consistency, we got to talk about that 1950s music. Mwah. My wife, back in the day of playing New Vegas, which this was, 10, 12 years ago now, used to comment, oh, you're playing that game again with the great 50s music. Because it's just fun. It's just catchy. It's just so historic. And this show brings it right into it and makes you feel at home. That consistency is woven all throughout, where it's really hard to do that. And I think from a product standpoint, we run into those kind of things all the time, right? Where we have to make tough decisions to enforce consistency. But when you do it right and when you do force that, everybody wins at the end. We recently had to make a change where we rolled out some new functionality in a couple of our modules, and the way it was handled in different modules, we were thinking about doing it differently. But instead, this took a whole extra 2 days of design to come up with this. A better, more consistent feel that worked in both places. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be a win for everybody because it's going to feel consistent throughout the product and makes people will instantly understand how to use it, where to use it. I think the other big important element to take away from a show like this is they just nailed the good storytelling. People relate to stories. I cannot iterate that enough. You've heard it and seen it so many times. People feel stories. When you tell a story, there's a part of the brain that works that they can relate to that's not always connected by you just iterating facts and stating things. Hopefully, me giving you the history and pulling out all the video games I have of Fallout helps you relate to like me telling this story. As someone who's spent hundreds of hours in this properties, like the show just resonated elements of my game sessions and actions. It really stuck with me. It was able to feel that consistent flow, and where things that you had done, actions that you'd made, like, yeah, I remember doing stuff like that. The Brotherhood had the feel of the Brotherhood from the game, and the power armor, and the weapons, and some of the enemies, like the cockroaches. They all just felt consistent. So, in closing, 2 important things to remember. Go watch the show, first of all. It's an absolute blast. It was absolutely worth a binge through. Consistency is king, right? Keep consistent throughout all of your products, throughout your suite. Make sure they tie together. I know that will force you to make hard decisions, and it might take you longer to make those hard decisions, but they are worth it. And 2, do not forget the importance of storytelling as you talk about your product, the problems that it solves, the jobs to be done. Think about how that ties in, and go watch Fallout. That's enough talking for me. Maybe I really should go back and play Fallout 76 now that the show's kind of got me excited about the property again. But you know, the Wasteland series created by some of the original creators is also pretty good. Tell me in the comments, which one should I play?